Good afternoon. Thanks to Fife Council and their partners for inviting us to present at this Fife Meet the Buyer event. My name is Martin Murray and I'm a Project Director with Levenmouth Rail in Scotland. For Levenmouth, I lead the combined integrated team, suppliers and the client in Network Rail. The rail connections for Levenmouth Reconnected are just part of the overall vision, which is much more about connecting people and places than delivering an infrastructure project. It is about a launchpad to regeneration and growth in the Leven area. So where are we? We are working to deliver the double-tracked railway ready for electrification to enter into passenger service in December 2023, with the electrified services commencing as part of the wider Scotland Decarbonisation and Resilience Programme. There will be 2 passenger services per hour connecting Leven to Edinburgh, with a station in the town centre and one at Cameron Bridge. Further opportunities for freight integration and tourist train connectivity are being developed. We are in the process of completing the final business case, which will give us the authority to construct, and advanced works have commenced on site, including site investigation, vegetation and invasive species treatment, and removal of the old track. The main works are planned to commence in 2022, with the first mile of track to reconnect the East Coast Main Line. Materials for these works are already stored near Glenrothes. The high-level timeline shows we are currently reviewing the overall governance and contracting for the project, with delivery contract awards to progress on approval of the final business case. This will include the Works Delivery Programme. But to get a better understanding of where we are now, it is worth explaining how we have got here as a project. The framework suppliers in Scotland's railway were challenged in 2020 to find a new way of delivery that would meet the affordability requirements, clearly demonstrate efficient delivery, be scalable, and have the ability to provide a long-term contract model where collaboration forms part of the central structure rather than more traditional confrontational contracting terms and conditions. The agreed answer was to use the ICE Project 13 enterprise model. So why is Project 13 different? Focus is not on outputs, i.e. not the project metrics, but on project outcomes, i.e. how the railway systems provide the capability for people movement, connecting places and regeneration. This has been put into a longer-term vision for the project, with our story on Sarah, where the wider legacy benefits of the project are described. The buzzwords at the top are from the Fife Action Plan for Regeneration and highlight the importance of connectivity in meeting their aspirations for improving the opportunities of the residents of the Levenmouth area and enhancing its tourism opportunities. For those of us on the project, we have been using Sarah to remind us of the why we are doing this when we have to make difficult decisions. Here are the bones of the project outcomes as highlighted by key people within Transport Scotland. It will probably come as a surprise that these form the commercial incentivisation for the supply chain. For the Levenmouth is a better place to live, work and play, we have linked this to improving the learning opportunities around the project landscape and in legacy, enhancing local community services, providing both short-term accommodation, support services for the workforce and long-term improvements to the local economy. So what about everyone leaves with a smile on their face? This is about building the environment around a project so we do think about what our decisions mean for Levenmouth. We recognise both the positive opportunities and negative impacts of the project on our surroundings and work on the positive influences we can proactively invest in the local environments. These are then fed into key performance indicators to measure success as part of the collaboration agreement between delivery partners and Network Rail. I promise not to go through this slide in detail, but one of the main premises for the enterprise model is all partners are equal, i.e. no master-servant transactional relationships. For this purpose, a steering group looks at the wider picture and consists of senior representatives of all organisations, including Network Rail. Network Rail externally to the enterprise are recognised as the owner and represented within by the owner's representative. On behalf of Network Rail, the project is run by an integrator. In alliance terms, this would be seen as a senior leadership team who come from across the delivery partners and are selected on a basis for best for project. These individuals collectively represent the project rather than their individuals' organisations. Underneath this team, we are forming an integrated management team for the delivery, which is all the component parts you would expect: programme controls, site management, project management, and commercial. But it is more outputs and reporting driven, which is recognised by hubs. The work split, or allocation in other words, has been undertaken, which made for some difficult conversations, but in the end it was agreed that all partners should be involved in the delivery to provide enhanced learning opportunities throughout the supply chain. The civil elements are therefore split amongst the framework suppliers based around their specialist knowledge. For example, QTS also have an earthworks maintenance contract, or BAM with their overall project management experience. Track works will be undertaken by Babcock under the Rail Systems Alliance, Railway Systems by Siemens, and Overhead Electrification by SPL. Further downstream, best of project procurement decisions to support the main contracts will be determined following business case approval, when we as a project will be in a better position to provide details and timescales for subcontracts. I would like to say thank you to Fife Council and their partners, Hub East Central Scotland and Supplier Development Programme for organising the event. We look forward to answering any questions you have. Good afternoon. Thanks very much for joining us. I'm joined now by Tommy McPake, who is the aforementioned owner's representative on the enterprise, Graham Stewart, who's the project sponsor, Lindsay Brown, who's commercial lead on the integrator, and Sean Clemmy, who's a key member of our integrated management team in the project management side. I think before we start, Graham, can you give us a 30-second update on where we are with the final business case in terms of timing?
Yeah, basically it's been the final business case for the project has been drafted and is close to conclusion now. We're expecting to get our approvals through in that in the coming weeks, and certainly this calendar year we anticipate to be fully authorised to commence the construction and delivery phase of the project, which would include procurement as well.
Okay, thanks, Graham. And that will probably then temper some of our responses on any procurement specific questions, which I'll put Lindsay's way. So the first one I've got is, my business has experience in several areas that were mentioned in the presentation. Would we be able to bid for subcontracting opportunities, or have these already gone? Lindsay.
So they are currently, just because the work split has now been carried out, but so for each area which you're interested in, it's probably better visiting those suppliers on the stands. They're all currently in attendance. We are looking at an overarching procurement strategy for the full project, but in the first instance, you can contact the individuals who you might be interested in working with in their specific work area, or if you don't get the appropriate response from them, happy for you to contact myself and I'll put you in contact with whoever you believe the correct person is that is working on the Levenmouth project.
Thank you, Lindsay. And I think it's fair also to say that the final decisions on the overall procurement and best for project can't be made until the final business case has been approved. A second question, which is very similar, so I'll pass that to you again, Lindsay, is where can they find the subcontract and supply chain opportunities like to Levenmouth? I assume you're just going to say back in the breakout rooms.
Yeah, if you speak to each of the contractors in the breakout rooms, they each have their own process, because this has been delivered across various contractors, with ourselves as the integrator being the controlling element at the centre of it. The opportunities are still coming out through the individual contractors, but we will be looking at a process and how we bring that together after the FBC. So, but in the first instance, the area specialist that you want to speak to the relevant contractor in the area, and if again, if you don't get any comfort from them, then happy for you to contact myself and I can put you in contact with the right individuals.
Okay, I've got another question which I'm going to head in Sean's direction. As a Central Fife recruiter, we are proud to be part of the BAM supply chain. As part of our aim to deliver community benefits, we are keen to engage as many local people as early as possible. How can we connect with you and your team and your supply chain on this project and align our efforts to engage the local community and potential workforce?
Yeah, it's a key benefit and all the partners are for local community engagement and recruiting locally. It's a key driver of what we're trying to do with this project to get our outcome with Sarah. So I think, as Lindsay's already mentioned, I think it's best if you go around all the suppliers, Story, SPL and AMCO and BAM, and connect direct with the people on the stalls to look to what we can do from the recruitment side of the project.
Thanks, Sean. And that's under the Exhibition Hub under Scotland's Railway. Tommy, do you want to add anything from the overall client side?
I guess from our perspective, it's key that we carry on the good work that we've done. We've fully engaged with certainly Fife Council and the local stakeholders, and we want to continue that. So as Sean says, it's imperative for lots of reasons for us to be looking locally to recruit where we can and to get local people involved within the project. So I'll just reiterate, go to the Exhibition Hub under Scotland's Railway and speak to some of the individual supply chain partners that are there.
Thanks, Tommy. Another question on, with an increase in extreme weather events, is there a need for a strategy on flood risk management? I'll take that, I suppose. The simple answer is yes. We have standards we work to on the railway and return periods for flooding. Those have become more onerous over the last year or so with some of the extreme events we've had, especially in relation to earthworks around the railway, and those are taken into account in the project with a full dynamic model to allow us to undertake the flood risk assessments appropriately. I'll put this next one to Sean. We're looking to get involved if possible regarding earthworks and structures and supply of plant and temporary works designed for these. Is there or will there be a tender process?
Just following on from what Lindsay said, yeah, come and probably see myself. I'm sitting at the Story stand, but that doesn't mean I just present Story. I represent the whole project, and we can probably have a further discussion about the opportunities around tendering. None of them have been let, as we said, because of the business case approval still in process, but we'd certainly like to hear from local suppliers. And probably something to open up is this is not a normal railway project, it's a closed railway, so there's a lot more opportunities than there may be in the rest of the railway network. So it's certainly good to hear from local suppliers with general civils experience.
Thanks, Sean. Lindsay, if you can put your other hat on from Babcock and answer the next question. Is there any requirement for precast railway sleepers or any other precast concrete units?
I am not entirely sure around the sleeper element. I would have to defer that question, but I will take it offline and I'll get back to the individual who has raised that. Okay, I mean, it is fair to say that a lot of railway equipment is ordered through central procurement in Network Rail, and probably for railway sleepers that's pretty much been done. I think though, Sean, there will be opportunities on the other precast concrete units.
Yeah, there's certainly a number of structures that were currently in early design process that could be changed to precast. So it's certainly, if someone comes to see me on my stand, we could probably have further discussions and exchange contacts.
Yeah, I think, Martin, just to pick up on your point, there is a central purchasing point for Network Rail that we have negotiated efficient rates, and we do need to use them for core railway materials such as sleepers, rail, overhead line equipment and such like. But as Martin said, there is opportunities for other precast roundabout structures.
Yeah, and structures and foundations for railway infrastructure. I can't really answer the next question, which is, might the slides presented be available to the audience? I don't see why not, but that will be down to what the organisers issue after the event. Tommy, you can have a nice one to do with design. I know how you like design. Is there a project architect dealing with the internal specifications on the 2 new stations? Either you or Graham can answer that one.
I guess Network Rail, we have got an internal architects department. We have got standards that we want at our stations. We want to try and replicate what we do across the network. So there will be architects involved, both internal and external.
Yeah, I can probably update as well. In terms of the station designs, we're obviously engaging quite a lot with the local authority and the Levenmouth Reconnected programme around what exactly the station environments are going to look like and how they're going to be connected into the wider network. Probably just to emphasise that there's no proposals at the moment for fixed station buildings, albeit we are looking at proposals at Leven for something more kind of modular in terms of facilities and welfare and potentially retail as well. So yeah, that's the current thought process at the 2 locations.
Thanks, Graham, Tommy, and we should say that there is a design house on board in Atkins who are undertaking the design on behalf of the enterprise generally. A question for you, Sean. We are a specialist FM company and provide drone services for survey and mapping. Is there any requirement for this type of service on the project?
Yeah, already there's been a number of drone surveys undertaken and been used for the bin model. However, there will be a continual requirement throughout the project for that. So yes, certainly opportunities there, and probably worth coming to see my stall, and we can have further discussions regarding it.
And I'd suggest going to see BAM as well on that. I'm sure they'll be interested in any discussion around survey and mapping. Okay, I'm going to go with Tommy on this one. Final question, Tommy. Why do you work with tier 1s instead of going direct to SMEs?
It's a good question, Mark. To be fair, you know, we have went through an extensive tendering process to get to the framework contractors that we've got today. They do spend a lot of time, effort and money in tendering for us, and we do use them. We do encourage all our supply chain to use local, sort of smaller SMEs when appropriate. So that's really why we do it. We have got, you know, in excess of £1 billion worth of projects to deliver over the next 5 to 10 years. So we really need access to the people that we've got in this call. But that's not to say that further downstream that they won't use some of you people, and you will be protected by our fair payment charter and everything we do. So that's really why we do it.
I think that some of it's, yeah, so some of it's down to the way we're funded as well. So we're funded in 5-year control period cycles. So effectively our grant funding is in place at times before the projects and project specifications developed. So we need frameworks to be able to draw down on that. So that's one of the reasons why we go for that kind of tier 1 approach.
Thanks, Graham. Thanks, Tommy. And Tommy, I think you do more than encourage the suppliers to use local SMEs. I think it's pretty much a fundamental part of the overall framework to do that. Which is why we're at this event, and we would encourage you to go and I'll check with go to the exhibition hub under Scotland's Railway and speak to the suppliers direct, as they are all interested in using local Fife companies and organisations where possible and where appropriate. As we're running out of time, I think Tommy, if you can do a quick summary, I think would be best of where we are and what we're expecting next.
I guess it's again, thanks everybody for showing interest. It's been really worthwhile for us. I mean, obviously our next stage is to get a final business case signed off, and then, you know, it will be full steam ahead from early next year. Martin and the team will be delivering the project that will ultimately bring real benefit to the area. So we're looking forward to getting on site and getting on with it.
Okay, thanks very much. Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks very much.